You've been looking for purpose in your passions, in your strengths, in your light. But what if it's hiding in the one place you've refused to go? What if your direction is buried in your darkness? You keep asking the same question. What am I here for? What's my calling? What's the point of all this? And every time you look outward, to your talents, to your dreams, to what inspires or excites you, but nothing sticks, nothing feels like home. Why? Because you're searching in the wrong direction. You're looking up. Jung would ask you to look down into the dark. He wrote, "One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." What if your purpose isn't found in the light? What if it's buried in the parts of you you've spent your life avoiding? The shadow isn't just where your pain lives. It's where your patterns live, your energy, your buried intelligence, your unlived life. Everything you've denied, suppressed, or been shamed for, it's still in there. But it doesn't want to haunt you. It wants to guide you. Because that grief you never processed, it shaped your sensitivity. That anger you never allowed, it shaped your fire. That obsession, that craving, that guilt, they're pointing to parts of your life that want to be reclaimed. Jung didn't see the shadow as evil. He saw it as incomplete. And in that incompleteness lives the thing you've been searching for all along, your direction. You think purpose will feel like peace, but at first it feels like confrontation. It rises out of discomfort, out of the patterns that keep showing up, out of the emotions you try to suppress because you think they make you weak. But they don't. They make you human. They make you whole. Jung wrote, "There is no coming to consciousness without pain." Purpose doesn't arrive as clarity. It arrives as disturbance. It knocks you off course, because your old course wasn't yours to begin with. Every time you run from discomfort, you run from your path. Not because pain is your purpose, but because it's your signal. You won't find your calling in your comfort zone. You'll find it in your contradiction, in your tension, in the place where you're tired of pretending. That's the door. Jung knew this better than anyone. He watched people chase dreams that weren't real just to avoid meeting the one part of themselves that held the truth. And now you're here. The door is open, but you still have to walk through it. You're not lost. You're just facing the wrong direction. Turn toward what you've been taught to hide, and you'll find everything you were meant to become. When you hear the word shadow, you probably think pain, fear, rage, shame. But Jung didn't see it as your enemy. He saw it as unlived life. The shadow is everything you've denied in yourself to survive, to be accepted, to be good. And now that everything lives underground, it leaks into your dreams, your triggers, your fears, your envy. But it's not there to haunt you. It's there to remind you you've left something behind. You're ashamed of your anger, so you repress it. But in that repression is a message. You may have been silenced too long. You may have been too nice for too long. You suppress your ambition. But maybe that ambition was never toxic. Maybe it was your soul trying to rise. Jung wrote, "We cannot change anything unless we accept it. So ask, what have I repressed, and what if it's not wrong, just unmet? Your symptoms are signals. Your problems are path markers. You're not broken, you're buried." You think your problem is them, their ego, their selfishness, their intensity, their emotion. But pause. What if what you hate in them is something unresolved in you? What you reject in others is often what you've never been allowed to claim in yourself. That's projection. Jung said, "Everything that irritates us about others can lead us to an understanding of ourselves." This doesn't mean they're right. It means you've been given a mirror. And if you're brave enough to use it, to look past judgment and into reflection, you'll start to recover the pieces of yourself that are still missing from your life. There's nothing wrong with you. There never was. You've just lived too long inside a system that taught you to abandon what made you powerful. And so your shadow has carried it all for you. Your voice, your boldness, your clarity, your fire. Now it's time to take it back. Not by burning your life down, not by rejecting who you've been, but by remembering that every part of you is here for a reason, and none of it wants to be erased. It wants to be seen. The shadow doesn't just hold your darkness, it holds your design. The clues, the traits, the fuel, everything you need to become who you truly are. You think shame is a sign that something's wrong with you. But Jung knew better. Shame doesn't always mean you're broken. Sometimes it means you're betraying yourself. You feel shame around your need for space, but maybe you were never allowed boundaries. You feel shame around your anger, but maybe your rage is what's most alive. Jung never said to get rid of shame. He asked you to turn toward it. Because sometimes shame doesn't mean this part of you is bad. It means this part of you is buried, and buried things grow in silence. What you obsess over isn't meaningless. It's trying to show you something. That person you can't stop thinking about. That dream you keep dismissing. That fear that loops in your chest. It's not just emotional noise. It's a signal. Jung said, what you resist not only persists, but will grow in size. You've been resisting the part of yourself that wants to go deeper, that refuses to settle, that aches for something real. That ache isn't the problem. It's the portal. Follow it. You're taught to run from fear, to stay where things are stable, safe, predictable. But your purpose? It's usually behind the thing you're afraid to feel. Fear of being alone, fear of failure, fear of being seen, fear of being honest. And if you keep running, you'll keep living a life shaped by fear, not guided by it. Jung reminded us, what you most need will be found where you least want to look. Your freedom is behind the very feeling you've built your life around avoiding, and that's why your purpose still feels so far away. You keep waiting to know your purpose, to be certain, to feel ready. But the deeper truth, clarity, comes after courage, not before it. You want to be sure before you leap. But Jung's work teaches us, the leap is what creates the path. The part of you that's scared, ashamed, unsure, that's the part closest to your purpose, because it's the part that's still alive, still reaching, still unshaped by other people's expectations. And once you stop avoiding it, it will speak. And when it does, you'll know exactly what to do next. Your pain isn't the thing blocking your purpose. It's the thing revealing it. Follow it to the root, and it will lead you to your reason for being. You think you keep ending up in the same place because you're cursed, broken, unlucky. But Jung would say, you're repeating the lesson because you haven't heard it yet. That relationship pattern, that recurring doubt, that thing you keep almost healing and then burying again. It's not punishment, it's direction. Jung wrote, in each of us there is another whom we do not know, and that other is always speaking, through the ache, through the loop, through the moment you thought was meaningless, but wasn't. Most people treat pain like a malfunction, but Jung believed pain has structure. It's intelligent. It repeats. It builds tension because it's trying to force your attention onto the part of yourself you keep disowning. You're not here to escape pain. You're here to understand it, to read it like a coded message from the parts of you that still want to live. Because your wound is not just an injury, it's a blueprint. And when you trace it back to its origin, you'll often find your voice waiting there. You've been trying to fix yourself, solve yourself, perfect yourself into being whole. But Jung didn't ask you to fix anything. He asked you to listen to the rage you suppress, to the need you shame, to the identity you hide behind, "I'm fine." You don't need a new version of yourself. You need to make peace with the one you've been running from. And when you stop treating your shadow like a problem, you'll realize it was a compass the entire time. That moment when everything fell apart, it didn't just scar you, it shaped you, not into something weaker, but into someone capable of carrying truth. Because what you felt is what someone else still can't name. What you've survived is what someone else is still afraid to face. And when you stop being ashamed of your past, you begin to live your purpose, to embody what you've integrated, to carry it without apology, to live it without asking for permission, not to fix the world, but to be real in it. Your shadow wasn't the obstacle, it was the origin. And now that you've listened, you can stop surviving it and start walking with it. You thought you wasted time, took too many detours, got stuck in too much pain. But Jung would say, you weren't off track. You were gathering the pieces. Each wound, each collapse, each version of you that didn't last, they weren't failures. They were signals. Jung wrote, "The most terrifying thing is to accept oneself completely. And now that you have, you're ready to begin. Not with someone else's plan, but with your truth. Not from the light you imagined, but from the darkness you finally understood." You've walked through your pain. You faced what you couldn't name. And you didn't dissolve, you integrated. This is what Jung called individuation. Not becoming perfect, not becoming good, but becoming you, whole, unapologetic, inwardly governed. Now you don't chase meaning. You carry it because you are it. Every scar, every silence, every refusal to disappear has woven you into someone who doesn't just see clearly but lives clearly. And that is your purpose in motion. You used to wonder, what if my purpose doesn't make sense to other people? But Jung would tell you, then it's probably real, because the deeper your purpose, the fewer people will understand it. You may not be praised for it. You may not get a title for it. It may look like walking away, like saying no to comfort, like starting over again. But here's the truth. Real purpose doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it looks like silence, like discipline, like refusing to betray yourself even when it costs you. And that's the moment your purpose begins to live, not in your dreams, but in your decisions. Purpose isn't something that finds you. It's something you forge, moment by moment, choice by choice. It's not about discovering the perfect idea. It's about living in alignment with the part of you that no longer wants to hide. Jung didn't promise ease, he promised truth. And truth rarely arrives in a flash. It arrives in fragments, in pain, in memory, in the quiet voice that says, what if this is who I really am? You won't wake up one day with a banner that says, here's your purpose. But you will wake up someday and realize you've been living it because you stopped abandoning yourself. You don't integrate your shadow once. You integrate it daily. Every time you speak honestly, instead of pretending to be okay. Every time you feel anger and choose expression over suppression. Every time you notice fear and step forward anyway. That's shadow work. It's not always intense. It's not always mystical. Sometimes it looks like washing the dishes while forgiving your past. Sometimes it looks like choosing yourself without asking for permission. Every time you say, even this part of me belongs, you're walking in your purpose. People say they're afraid to fail, but failure isn't the real fear. The real fear is being seen without the mask. without the performance, without the good story. And that's why shadow work is hard. Not because it's abstract, but because it demands honesty. Honesty about your rage, your shame, your envy, your desires. But Jung knew everything that's hidden is still shaping your life. You can ignore it, but it's still steering the ship. The question is, do you want to be liked, or do you want to be free? You've been told that certain parts of you are dangerous, too much, too angry, too impulsive, too intense. But often, those are the parts that know the truth. The part that wanted to scream, it was asking for boundaries. The part that wanted to quit, it was asking for purpose. The part that refused to conform, it was asking for sovereignty. You don't need to destroy these parts. You need to understand them. Because underneath the emotion is the message, and underneath the message is a design, trying to point you back to who you were before you were shaped to fit in. You don't find your purpose by becoming flawless. You find it by becoming whole. And wholeness doesn't mean perfection. It means everything belongs. Your tenderness, your stubbornness, your pride, your wounds, your doubts. They don't disqualify you. They're the curriculum. Because what you carry is exactly what someone else is still afraid to touch. And when you stop hiding it, you become a signal, not a savior. Just someone who finally stopped trying to become what they were never meant to be. In your quest for growth, you may try to fix the parts of you that are actually sacred. The part that questions everything. The part that never feels satisfied. The part that walks away from things that should make you happy. But what if that restlessness isn't brokenness? What if it's guidance? Jung didn't want you to smooth yourself out. He wanted you to be real, because realness doesn't come from healing everything. It comes from knowing what to carry and choosing how to carry it. You're not here to fix yourself into approval. You're here to live in alignment with the mystery you were born to embody. You've spent years trying to be good, to be kind, to be easy to love, but that's not your highest calling. Your highest calling is to be true. True even when it's uncomfortable. True even when it costs you. True even when no one claps for it. Jung would say, you don't become whole by becoming nice. You become whole by becoming authentic. Because the world isn't starving for perfection. It's starving for people who are real enough to be felt. That's you, if you let it be. This is the secret. Your purpose isn't a role. It's not a title. It's not a task. It's a way of being. You become your purpose the moment you stop chasing and start choosing. The moment you embody what you've spent years trying to deserve. You don't have to earn it. You only have to remember it. And walk like someone who's finally come home to themselves. You thought your shadow was blocking the way, but now you see it was the way. Your shame showed you what matters. Your fear pointed to your voice. Your grief became the gate. And now, you're not chasing purpose. You're walking in it. Quietly, clearly, without apology. Because the parts of you that felt like flaws turned out to be direction. And the parts of you used to hide, they've become the light. Most people search for purpose as a task, a title, a mission, but Jung never described it that way. Your purpose isn't what you do, it's the truth you embody. It's the pattern you've faced so you can break it. It's the shadow you've made conscious so others feel less alone in theirs. It's not about being useful, it's about being whole. And when you walk into the world from that place, you don't need to speak loudly. You just need to be real, and everything else will unfold. If this message resonated with you, leave a comment below. I choose to walk with my shadow. Or tell me, what part of your shadow are you ready to reclaim? Not as a flaw, but as direction. And if you're walking this path, subscribe and click the notification bell. Because the world doesn't need more seekers. It needs more people who've come home to themselves. Until next time, keep shining, not to be seen, but to see.